Good afternoon. I am Michael L. Johnson of the 23rd District, and I am the Black Caucus Chair, and we're here today to present you with a mid-session update on key issues that are concerns of ours and our constituents. First, we'd like to speak, of course, about the anti-DEI. Governor Kehoe's order dismantles efforts to create fair and inclusive opportunities in state government. It sends a divisive message. Missouri is not interested in fostering a diverse and competitive workforce. DEI programs do not promote special treatment. They ensure everyone, regardless of background, have a fair shot. If DEI needs improvement, why eliminate it instead of fixing it? If Governor Kehoe believes DEI programs aren't working as intended, the right approach would be to reform and improve them, not eliminate them entirely. We do not shut down entire government programs just because they need adjustment. We refine them to better serve their purpose. Why is DEI being treated differently? The fact that DEI exists acknowledges that disparities and barriers still exist. Instead of addressing those issues, this executive order ignores them. This move proves that the goal isn't to make diversity efforts better, it is to erase them completely. DEI is not a black thing. DEI is for everyone. It's for veterans. It's for those that are disabled. It's for those that have impairments. It is for those that deserve a chance at showing equality on a job. DEI is also something that everyone needs to realize doesn't rank blacks at the top of that list. Research states that it is far different. And as far as ethnicities, we would be like 5th or 6th on that list. So let's get those things straight. We would also like to talk about the St. Louis takeover as well. And in doing so, I would like Representative Sharp to come forth, and we're going to speak on that issue now. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman Johnson. For the record, State Representative Mark Sharp, South Kansas City, District 37. I am the ranking Democrat member on public safety and crime prevention. So, House Bill 495, which was perfected and third read out of the House a few weeks ago, now sits in the Senate. Now, this bill mainly contains the language for the St. Louis Police Department takeover. Now, what this bill does mainly is it just shifts oversight of the police department from local officials, mainly the Honorable Mayor Tashara Jones and Police Chief Tracy. Now, under their leadership, they have done some incredible things in the city of St. Louis. Being from Kansas City, I can firsthand speak on how state control has been very ineffective. We've had some of our deadliest years under state control. And what Mayor Jones and Chief Tracy have been able to do is nothing short of incredible. They have been able to improve and increase salaries for those officers. Any officer 20 years and under received a 7% increase, and any officer over 20 years has received a 2% increase. We've seen lower homicides reported. We have seen improved morale. And for the only 2 cities in the state of Missouri to be under state control with Kansas City and St. Louis, it's terrible. And these are the only 2 major cities across the country that has oversight from the state of those local police departments. And every week, it seems like we're coming in here to this chamber to debate issues that are continuously taking power away from our local officials. And as a Kansas City native, House Bill 495 continues to push it further back for us in Kansas City to ever want to seek local control again. So it really puts us behind the 8 ball, and hopefully our senators in the other chamber can stop this bill, or at least get some of the really heartburn issues removed from that bill. I'll go ahead and stop there.
Thank you, Representative Sharp. Next, we'll hear about our state budget update from Representative Dale Taylor.
Thank you, Representative. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm State Representative Dale Taylor from the City of St. Louis, 84th District. Fundamentally, let's start with the basics. The Missouri economy is strong. The Missouri economy is growing. We have great jobs growth. So why, in such a strong economy, are we struggling to meet some of our state financial obligations? We are struggling because we keep cutting taxes. In fact, this year we are faced with more and more tax cut proposals. Historically, since 2014, we have seen income tax cuts that range up to $2.7 billion. We have all of these tax incentives. We have all types of other tax cuts. Overall, though our economy is growing, Missouri has been receiving far and far fewer percentages of tax income, which means that we are fundamentally cutting services. We are renegotiating some of the very fundamental contracts that we have made with the public. For example, and probably the biggest one has been our commitment to education and the foundation formula. When the foundation formula dictated that an adequate education requires that we spend more, about $300 million more, now, instead of committing to doing so, our budget is so tight that we figure, well, we'll launch a task force and we'll rejigger the formula itself. We will literally change the formula so that we can change the contract with the people of Missouri. That is not the way we should be running our state. That is unfair to the people. In fact, I personally think that that is a very violation of our own state motto, that the welfare of the people is the supreme law. Our state is strong, our economy is strong, but as we continue all of these tax cuts and tax shavings and tax incentives, we are discounting and we are robbing the people of Missouri of basic services that they need. And with that, nothing else. Thank you, though.
Thank you, Representative Taylor. And next we will hear about the elected county assessors from Representative Melissa Douglas.
Good morning. I'm Melissa Douglas. I represent House District 27 in Kansas City. And I'm standing here just to talk a little bit more about the process of the county assessor. This is not a fight that should be held in Jefferson City. This fight should be held in Jackson County amongst the citizens of Jackson County. I did oppose the House bill. I am on record saying that, but because as we continue to talk about local control, this is the pure essence of our local control being taken away from us, just a bit by bit, because we have things that are already written that state what should be done as far as our county assessor in the election process should go. This is a fight, again, that should be taking place in Jackson County amongst our county executive and the legislator and the citizens that are in and housed around Jackson County who this directly impacts. It does not impact anyone else here, and we want to make sure that we are keeping the essence of our local control where it belongs, and that will be with the citizens of Jackson County. Thank you.
And next, we'll have Representative David Tyson Smith. He'll discuss fighting discrimination in colleges and universities.
So my name is David Tyson Smith, District 46 out of Columbia. You know, a bill came through the House just recently that seemed fairly innocuous, but it's really a dangerous bill, and that's 875. And it dealt with I think the thrust of the bill was that people could have whatever leadership they wanted in their individual clubs or groups at the university or in a college. The problem is there is a portion of that bill that said that universities cannot take adverse action against a student group for their viewpoints or their expression. That is an extremely dangerous clause, because what that allows someone to do or a group to do is say anything, engage in any type of hate speech, hate demonstrations along campus, and you can't take adverse action against them. So you could have a neo-Nazi group, a Ku Klux Klan group, any type of hate, racist, anti-Semitic group put nooses all over campus, and the university couldn't discipline them or disband their organization. That's dangerous. That takes us back in time, and it's the wrong thing to do. You have to understand, people talk about the First Amendment. Well, the First Amendment gives you the right to say what you want without going to jail. It doesn't give you the right to behave however you want without consequences. A lot of students on campus, they're a captive audience. So they may live in the dorms. They have to walk from their dorms to class. They shouldn't have to be subjected to hate speech, to ugliness, to racist ideas. If they're sitting in the classroom, they shouldn't be subjected to racist messages on a corkboard. If somebody in the city wants to, organize and get a permit to have a sort of neo-Nazi rally, they're free to do that. You just don't go downtown if you don't want to hear what they have to say. But on campuses, it's different because these students they're taxpayers, right? They're taxpayers. They're there. They've paid their money to be there. They shouldn't have to be subjected to all kinds of horrendous speech. So this Bill 875 is problematic. And as we go further down the road, we're going to even see even how much more problematic it can be. So that's a problem, and it hopefully this dies. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Tyson Smith. Also, we'll leave you with some final remarks. With VLT legislation eventually coming forward, the majority of us, our vote will be contingent on the Speaker of the House and if he can appoint more Black Caucus policy bills. We are uniformed and aligned to make sure that we use our leverage as much as possible for the benefit and the concerns that we have for all of our constituents that actually, sent us here. So we want to make sure that we are working for the benefit of them, and we thank you.
On the St. Louis Police Takeover Bill, I just want a clarification if anybody can answer this. Some people were not sure, would that bill go to a vote of the people, or would it just completely override that vote about a decade ago?
And sorry, our other lead from St. Louis is under the weather, but no, this would not go to a vote of the people. It just simply shifts legislatively oversight of the department to the state-appointed board, similar to what Kansas City has currently.
Do you have any comment on that? Just because about 12 years ago, I want to say they voted to take it back for local control.
Yeah, and the Representative Chris, the bill sponsor, has gone on record saying that 12 years ago is long enough ago for us to come in and say that the will of the people was so long ago that this legislation is necessary. And again, going back to the reduced homicides, this is something that is brought up repeatedly with this bill, making it a public safety issue. It's not a public safety issue. It's simply shifting oversight of who runs the police department. So that's all this bill has to do with. There's other provisions, obviously, because it's now an omnibus public safety bill, but that's the thrust of the bill.
Would the people of St. Louis have any power to give a voice on their opinion on this?
Testify. Yep. Testify. Submit your testimony. Like I said, the bill is now in the Senate. So if folks have availability, please look at the bill schedule, and if you can come down and testify, let your voices be heard, and make the senators feel what you are feeling.
Can I ask a question of you? We were talking a lot about how tax cuts are affecting the budget, seeing a shrinking budget. Do you think that there is any way that you could cut taxes without losing things like public services and education?
The Missouri budget is a $50 billion budget. Much of that is from federal dollars that we've been receiving, and as those federal dollars are going away, we have been seeing a lot of those projects going away. So in that case, we have been reducing a lot of capital projects. We knew that we had ARPA dollars, we've been completing those, and those are reducing our budget. Fundamentally, if the economy is growing and we're collecting, and people are making more money and more people are working, we should, we're actually obviously trying to serve more people. We've got more children, that we're trying to serve. What we have done in Missouri is we have actually started to implement so many tax triggers that when revenues go up, the trigger kicks in and our revenues remain flat, and other things and our revenues remain flat. So that's one of the big hurdles we face But in addition to that, if that weren't enough, we also are struggling with, tax proposals like eliminating the corporate income tax altogether. That would have almost a $900 million impact to the services and the revenues that we collect in the state, hence the services that we provide. So your question was, is there a way for us to cut taxes and maintain the same level of services? That's a real tricky one. Maybe technology might help us in some areas, but fundamentally, the services that we're providing really are salaries. We're talking about school teachers. We're talking about social workers. We're talking about court-appointed advocates. These services, these individuals, need to be paid just like the rest of us. So as our economy grows, as we face inflation, yes, they want pay increases also. Maybe technology can do something. We always hear about, can we do it more efficiently? Can we do it more efficiently? Well, we're certainly open to those ideas, and we look very closely at the programs that we're offering. Efficiency is one of the angles that we're looking at. Technology is one of the angles that we're looking at. But fundamentally, we made a contract with the people of the state of Missouri that that number one is the service and welfare of the people in this state. We need to stop drastically cutting the tax revenues that we're bringing in, because those taxes really are making it harder for us to provide those basic services.
And you certainly touched on this, but could you just explain how, when we're facing these tighter budgets, how is the everyday Missourian impacted?
The everyday Missourian is impacted because some of our communities are at 4-day-a-week schools. 4 days a week means that the kids what are they doing for 3 days? How are you going to work? Where are you getting your child care? Who's monitoring and supporting your child, those extra days? Some of our communities see that, and they face that right now, and that's a function of our school districts struggling with bringing in enough revenue, and the state making their contribution. That's one of the most immediate issues that families have been wrestling with for well over a year now, and it's only going to get more and more challenging.
Are there any concerns? We know that aging population in Missouri is growing a lot. Are there any concerns that their services might be affected?
We are already struggling to maintain their services. And one of the basic services is when they go to their living communities or senior nursing homes, the state provides ombudsmen. Ombudsmen are individuals that go and advocate on behalf of those residents. When a resident has a complaint, they talk to that ombudsman. That ombudsman is equipped and qualified to take that complaint forward, to consolidate those with other complaints. Here in the state of Missouri, we are struggling to hire enough and pay our own ombudsman. We have a shortage of those. That is a direct service that the state provides, that as we have a more aging community, as they get older and the community grows, we need more of these ombudsman professionals, and yet we are struggling to fill that role. And there are numerous cases like that, but that's one I think that is most specific to your question. You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Taylor. We will entertain a few more questions if you have them.
Could I ask Representative David Tyson Smith, you're speaking about something affecting colleges and universities in Columbia, you have the University of Missouri.
Yeah.
How do these measures that you're speaking about, how does this affect the University of Missouri, it being such a big public university here, having such an impact on the state?
Well, I think it will affect the university, and it should. If this goes forward, it's going to be negative for the university, but stopping it, I think, is a positive thing. Not very long ago, it was a year or two ago, there was a student that fired off really ugly racist tweets, and they weren't really disciplined. Now, that group should have been disbanded. And so, I live in a college town, and there are so many people there, and it's not fair to other students to have to endure bigotry. So if there's a hate group on campus that's spewing out bigotry, they need to be stopped. And other people shouldn't be subjected to that. Now, if these groups want to go somewhere else, they want to go off campus or, not identify as a Mizzou student group, more power to them. But student fees and those types of things go to these groups. And so these other students shouldn't have to be a victim to this ugliness. And that needs to stop. And, the interesting thing about this bill is that That wasn't the thrust, I think, of the sponsor's intent, but the language in the bill could be devastating. Because basically what the language of this bill says is that a student group can say anything, do anything, as long as it's their expression and they're immune. And that's ridiculous and it's abhorrent.
And if you can answer this about DEI, how is that affecting the University of Missouri? You know, all these attacks on DEI.
Well, I mean, first of all, attacks on DEI are attacks on women, people of color, people with disabilities. There's a lot of training programs that go into DEI. It's not just about hiring. So deciding about cultural traits go to why a lot of black women suffer when they're giving birth. And that causes the mortality rate for black women is, I think, almost 3 times higher than white women. And there's a University of Missouri hospital there. So a DEI training course could tell physicians and nurses, hey, look, there's a discrepancy here. You need to look out for these factors. Because if you don't look out for these factors, people die, and it's dangerous. People of color, Asians, African Americans, tend to be overdiagnosed for things like schizophrenia and involuntarily committed. So a proper DEI training program would tell the psychiatrist, hey, you need to look out for these issues and don't just automatically assume people have schizophrenia. So you're talking about training in DEI. It's not just about hiring. And DEI provides opportunities to people. There's a lot of jobs, there's a lot of student jobs on campus where there's like minority apprenticeship programs that people get, and those people aren't hired by merit, whether they're through that program or not. It just opens a door so other people can get into those facilities, because you have a lot of situations where fraternities and sororities, predominantly white fraternities and sororities, will refer their friends into certain jobs, and these are like more hourly jobs that are on campus, and so people of color are locked out of those. So you have maybe a minority apprenticeship program that allows a person of color into those positions, and none of those are based on merit. It's just about who you know. The supervisors often don't check resumes or your grades or anything like that. Not that people would be, people of color would be worse than their counterparts, but it just opens a door to get people in. And so we're at a point in our history where America hasn't gone far enough where we need to stop these programs. I mean, you're talking about in the 60s, there was segregation. And so now, within like 50 some years, all of a sudden we're ready to dismantle these programs. That's insanity. Everybody wants to live in a colorblind society. I mean, everybody wants it to be everything about merit. And I'm not saying these programs don't deal with merit. Who doesn't want that? But America's made a choice. They made a choice a long time ago to engage in racist laws and policies that put people of color and other people behind the 8 ball for over 100 years. And so now to say, okay, we're done with that, that's wrong. And it's not common sense. Does that get you?
Thank you, Representative Tyson Smith, and we appreciate the media for coming out, and we will be ready for more updates coming soon. So once again, we thank you all for giving us this opportunity to address Missouri. Thank you.